The first time I heard of the coronavirus was probably in about February of 2020. I remember I was sitting in class and there was a guy in one of my classes that kind of always was checking news. He kind of updated people all the time. And I wasn't really friends with him or anything, but I just remember hearing him talk about some virus that was overseas. So I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think there was anything to think about. And then a couple weeks passed and we heard it was kind of spreading all over the globe. It was coming to the United States. And it was mostly just in that class that we talked about it. I heard a little bit of chatter elsewhere, but not much. And my professor in that class was talking and he's like, oh, it's not a big deal. Once it's moved to pandemic, then we should start to worry, but I doubt it even gets there. And I honestly didn't even know what like pandemic meant. Like obviously you think about that stuff and you hear it, but you never think it's going to happen. And then I think the next class period, it got moved to pandemic. The coronavirus was officially a pandemic. It was global. It was everywhere. And so then I start worrying. I'm like, what's going to happen? And my professor of that class was saying, don't worry about it. I'll see you in class on Monday. And then that night we got an email saying, school is shut down. Go home. We're going virtual. And that was crazy. I had no idea what to do. And so I still didn't really think much of it. So I stayed at school. I was working at the rec center at Indiana State University at the time. And I told my boss that I could take people's shifts because I knew people were going home and people, especially that don't live close to Terre Haute, wouldn't be able to do their shifts. So I just stayed in my apartment in Terre Haute and I offered to pick up people's shifts. And then I worked probably 2 more days and then they shut down everything, not just classes. The rec center was shut down. So I packed up my apartment and went home. And from there, we started doing classes online and no one really knew what to do. It was on Zoom and it was just crazy. And then we kind of start picking up, we kind of start understanding how to use Zoom, how to communicate virtually, and classes got better. It was still kind of chaotic, but it wasn't too hard to kind of pick up, especially with this day and age, people can pick up on technology like no time. And it was very chaotic, but I had 3 out of 5 of my siblings home with me and my parents. So my experience of lockdown is not as bad as some people's. My experience was really great because I have a very close relationship with my siblings. So we played lots of cards, we made dinners, we got to hang out with our dogs, we got to go on walks. It was honestly, for me, it was a very positive experience personally. I know that there was negative things going on around the world, but just being able to be home with my siblings who we all live in different cities right now, or at the time, got to live together as 20-year-olds and not like when we were in high school. So it was very interesting to kind of live with people like that. And I guess with some of my other family, like my extended family, was a little bit of grief that I couldn't see them. And then also my friends, especially my friends at school, because it was, my sophomore year whenever everything shut down and I couldn't see my friends anymore. And that was a little bit sad, but we did have, virtual meetings and we got to hang out with each other virtually, which was weird, but it was fine. It was better than nothing. And it was just definitely weird. And now a year later, it's even crazier because I see them in person more now, but we're wearing masks and everything like that. But now this time last year, it was just absolute chaos. And then now a year later, everyone's getting their vaccines, everyone's getting eligible. People are kind of definitely figuring out Zoom and everything that goes with virtual learning, and people are starting to be more together and learn how to do things safely and just kind of figure things out differently for what's happening now. And it's very interesting just to see how much has changed since the beginning, because this time last year, we didn't know when it was going to end. Some people were thinking a few months, and now it's a year later. And now that everyone's getting vaccinated and everything like that, we still don't know when it's going to end, but the future it's definitely more hopeful right now. A lot of bad things happened, a lot of grief, a lot of unfortunate deaths, and just straight sicknesses overall was very sad, but being here and now and seeing just the hope of the future, hope that we can finally be together more, we can go to movies, we can, walk with each other like close and not super far apart, and it's very exciting to see what we will be able to do again.